Hope you guys are having a great Friday. I know I am locked in, ready to go. Plenty of things to talk about. So many things to talk about as a matter of fact. And I want to start with the biggest star in sports right now, the biggest star that will remain in sports until football season shows up and this show shifts from basically being a Caitlin Clark show to a Indianapolis Colts show. And the first half of the WNBA season is over. We are entering the All-Star break. No Caitlin Clark in the three-point contest is a travesty. I will not be watching. Okay. And which is fine. I don't blame her for not wanting to compete, because obviously if she wanted to compete, they would have allowed her to do so. She's coming off of a long college season, quick turnaround into her WNBA season. Like she's been in the spotlight for the past year, which is a lot. It's taxing mentally, and obviously playing basketball at a high competitive level for a year straight is taxing on your body, even if you are, 22 years old or however old Caitlin Clark is. And I'm glad for her. Like, between the All-Star break and this Olympic break, Caitlin Clark is going to get much needed rest. Okay, she is getting a much needed month-long break outside of the All-Star game, which I'm kind of intrigued by. I like the idea of doing the Olympic team versus, the All-Star team. Is this game going to be competitive? That's really what I want to know, because when you watch the NBA All-Star game, it's not competitive at all. Okay, guys running around, they're scoring like 180 points apiece. Okay, it's a lot of dunks, it's a lot of threes, which is cool. It's fun for like 5 minutes, and then I turn it off and I go watch something that's actually entertaining. If the WNBA All-Star game is actually competitive and they're actually playing real, legitimate basketball, then it will be fun to watch, except for Angel Reese. I don't really care to watch her go, 2 of 17 in the All-Star game, and her 15 missed shots are all layups. But anyway, I'm excited for it. It's going to be interesting. It's going to hopefully be a good game. But with this break coming for Caitlin Clark, I wanted to look back at the first half of her rookie season. There were some ups, right? Like when she broke not one but two assist records a couple nights ago against the Dallas Wings, breaking the single game WNBA record with 19 assists, and then breaking the Indiana Fever single season assist record. And when she returns to action after the All-Star / Olympic break, we're going to see her eventually shatter the rookie record for assists in a season, unless she gets hurt. Okay, so she's had some ups. We have more ups coming, hopefully, right? But she has also had some downs as well, which is fine because she's a rookie. And anytime you're new at something, you have ups and you have downs. I've been hosting a radio show since February. And if I wanted to, which I don't, because this sounds terrible and I don't think you guys would enjoy it, I could bring my boss in here. I could sit him down across the way and be like, hey, man, I would like for you to highlight the ups and downs that I've had since February, with this being my first time really doing this, right? Because anytime you do something new, there are going to be positives and there are going to be negatives. And when it comes to Caitlin Clark, there have undoubtedly been some negatives. There have undoubtedly been some down games. There were some heavy turnover games, right? Her turnover averages, look, just find anybody that's not a fan of Caitlin Clark and they will tell you all about the turnovers. Okay, so there were some heavy turnover games. She had a couple 10 turnover games. She had an 8 turnover game, just, not taking care of the basketball. There were some bad shooting games, like when she went 1 of 10 and only scored 3 points against the New York Liberty last month. Okay, like as great as Caitlin Clark has been, it has not been all sunshines and rainbows. She's undoubtedly had some stinker games. But the good has greatly outweighed the bad. And that's why she's hands down the Rookie of the Year. That's why she has the third best odds to win the MVP. Because, once again, even though the turnovers are annoying and, she's had some bad shooting nights, she is hands down the best rookie, and she's already one of the 10 best players in the WNBA. And in light of the first half of the WNBA season ending. Somebody asked Caitlin Clark, is she excited for the break? What is she looking forward to? How does she kind of feel about the first half? Is she tired? Great question to be asked to Caitlin Clark, and here is her response.
Honestly, I feel pretty good. I think the beginning of the season was probably the most difficult for me, just the adjustment of, first of all, playing in this league, and then second of all, the schedule that we had of, playing a game, having a day off, playing a game. Like, there wasn't much time to really practice and learn my team. And I think once we really kind of got into a flow and got a few wins under our belt and had a little more practice time, things have kind of settled and flowed a little better. So I feel like I'm definitely trying to, feel like my feet are definitely getting under me more and starting to build more and more confidence. And, I think the more time I have to really work with my team and, work individually on things that I want to get better at too over the course of the next few weeks will only give me more confidence too.
That was Caitlin Clark discussing the first half of her rookie season, the goods, the bads, how she's going to get better, how this month-long break is going to be good for her. There's another clip out there where she discusses, how it's going to be weird, like not playing basketball, because I think Christy Size and the Fever, they're giving the ladies the first week off of this break. She was like, it's going to be weird not holding a basketball for a week, but it's something that she needs, right? And it is, because she's been playing for a year straight, and it's honestly incredible. And between the good and the bad, once again, she is already one of the best players in the WNBA. So I decided to go back and look at how she has progressed throughout the year, month by month. Okay, we're in the third month of the WNBA season, and I think it's clear, if you've been watching her all year, that she has improved, she has gotten better, and she has figured things out. So let's go back to the beginning. In the month of May, the first month of the season, she played 9 games, scored 17.5 points a game, 6.5 assists per game, 5 rebounds, and 5.5 turnovers. That's honestly so much better than what I was expecting. Okay, when I was, finding all these numbers and I saw her averages for the month of May, I was genuinely surprised. I thought her numbers were going to be a lot worse, because when you think back on that first month, you're like, I just remember like the slander was everywhere. Okay. And it didn't feel like she played a great month of basketball. I thought that the turnover average would be higher. I thought that the points was going to be the point total was going to be lower than what it actually was. And so, like, looking at the numbers, it doesn't feel like it matches up with what my eyes saw, because she did get off to a rough start. And I think everybody realizes that. And I remember when that happened, the discussion was that the WNBA didn't do her any favors. I did, a whole thing on it discussing how, like, the schedule was hard and they should have made it easier on her. That way she could get off to a good start, and just all of these different kind of things. And so it was rough. They were playing, every other day. They were on the road a lot. They had a West Coast road trip, which is always difficult when you're traveling to the other side of the country and you're having to play. And on top of all of that, she had to play against some of the best teams and best players in the WNBA night in and night out. And yet, despite it feeling like she didn't play great, she put up pretty decent numbers, right? And looking back on how she performed, I honestly don't know if I gave her enough credit for how she played, given the circumstances of playing every other day, coming off of a long college season, and, playing against some of the best teams in the league early. She set a good baseline for her rookie season in the first month, and she only got better from that first month on. In the month of June, she played 11 games, averaged 15 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds with 6 turnovers. Scoring dipped a little bit in month number 2. The assists went up slightly, the rebounding went up, and the turnovers went up. So there was improvement, though. Like, this was the first month where I sat back and consistently watched and was like, okay, she's starting to figure things out, especially towards the end of the month. Okay, and when you look at just the schedule and the way that the WNBA set this up, man, once again, it was brutal. 7 of the 11 games that the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark played in the month of June were on the road, and they were still playing more frequently than every other team in the WNBA for most of that month. Despite that, playmaking got better. Okay, I think that slight uptick in assists that we see from May to June speaks to her teammates. It speaks to them getting a little bit more practice time together, right? And it speaks to her teammates just learning how she plays the game and learning how great of a distributor she is. Okay, so yes, the scoring went down a little bit. Yes, the turnovers went up a little bit, but so did the assists. Okay, from a scoring standpoint, I still think that she was trying to figure out how she was being defended and how to best exploit the defenses that she was being shown. And I think on top of that as well, Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell didn't get off to super hot starts either, which only made things harder on Caitlin Clark, right? Like if Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell aren't scoring, that means that teams can obviously divert more attention to Caitlin Clark and trying to keep her bottled up. And throughout that month, you could kind of see the wheels turning of Caitlin Clark figuring out how she was being defended. And she figured it out. And albeit in a smaller sample size, the month of July, she exploited it. Over this month, she's played in 6 games where she's averaged 20 points a game, 12 and a half assists, 6 rebounds, and 5.5 turnovers. So the scoring went up by 5 points a game, which is pretty impressive. The assists went up by 5 assists a game, and the rebounds stayed the same while the turnovers went down by about half a turnover a game. Okay, this was the best 6-game stretch that Caitlin Clark has played all year. Okay, this is the closest thing that we've seen as to what people expected her to be when she entered the WNBA. Scoring the ball, pulling up, hitting threes, finding cutting teammates, them actually catching the ball and finishing at the rim. Okay, like these last 6 games, I think speaks volumes as to the type of player that Caitlin Clark is and how much better of a player she can actually become. She's scoring the ball better now than she has all year this year. She's creating more scoring opportunities for her teammates now than she was at the start of the year. And I think she's improved defensively. Before I hit on the defensive stuff, Caitlin Clark has generated, so she has scored or assisted on more points for her team than anyone else in the WNBA has. Okay, between Caitlin Clark scoring and assists, she holds the highest percentage of points being responsible for her team this year in the WNBA. Okay, she is a great player already. And defensively, that was another knock early in the year. It was like, hey, she's turning the ball over and she's not playing very good defense. And I don't believe that steals and blocks fully entail defense, but she's top 20 in blocks and she's top 10 in steals per game. And that doesn't fully entail defense. I think that when you watch games, the real question is who's actually competing on defense and who can keep the ball in front of them, right? Like those are who the best defenders are, because at the highest levels of basketball, you're not stopping anybody. The question is, can you just make things difficult on your opponent? And I think that Caitlin Clark has entered this stage where she can do that. She draws a lot of comparisons to Stephen Curry because of the shooting range and the passing and all that, which makes sense. I think they are severely similar on the defensive side of the ball as well. A little frail, a little bit smaller than some of the people that they're having to defend, but they're smart defenders. They understand how to play passing lanes. They understand how to rotate and get contests on shots. So like there's a lot of similarities there as well. And I think we've seen her figure out the defensive side of the ball in addition to figuring out the offensive side of the ball. Okay, she has come a long way through the first, 2.5 months of the season, right? And she's only going to get better from here. She is about to go and get a month of rest. Okay, the Indiana Fever are about to get, 3 to 4 weeks of practice time to continue to play and mesh together. So she's going to come back more energized. The Fever team as a whole, they're going to come back with more practice time under their belt, figuring out things that they want to do. They're going to be able to go back, watch tape from the first half of the year, and figure out where they need to get better. And the other thing, the most important thing, is that Caitlin Clark is going to come back knowing what to expect. She knows how defenses are going to play her. It appears that she's figured out how to beat those defenses, so it'll be interesting to see if these teams would like to change the way that they're defending her. But it's going to be interesting. She has a much better grip on the reins now in terms of how to run a WNBA offense, how to score for herself, and how to set her teammates up. Okay, so I can't wait for the second half of the WNBA season. I am expecting huge things from Caitlin Clark in the second half of this season, and I fully expect for the Indiana Fever to make the playoffs this year. Okay, and I think that there's this idea that because Caitlin Clark is going away and she's not going to play in a legitimate basketball game for over a month, that we just aren't going to talk about her. I think people have this idea that we're going to talk about the women's Olympic team. And look, we have seen a change in the conversation around the WNBA. We have, where we talk about it in a much more similar fashion to how we discuss the NBA and the NFL. And even though Caitlin Clark's not going to play a game for the next month, she's still going to be a major topic of conversation. And I believe that it is very well established that a lot of these WNBA players currently do not like Caitlin Clark. And I cannot wait for the day when box score watchers see that someone on the USA women's Olympic basketball team didn't play well. As soon as that happens, we are going to get discourse on how Caitlin Clark should have made the Olympic team over so-and-so, whoever had the bad game. Right? So even though Caitlin Clark is going away for the next month, even though we aren't going to see her play a game for the next month, we are still going to talk about her because she's the biggest star in sports right now, at least until the NFL season starts.